When you eat out, your health is in someone else's hands. Literally. If that someone doesn't wash their hands properly, you could end up with hepatitis from human waste, salmonella from raw chicken, E. coli found in red meat, and the list goes on.
And you would be surprised at how many people in the United States don't wash their hands before eating, after going to the bathroom, after playing with a pet.
Dr. David Lineback of the University of Maryland says poor sanitation is the #1 food safety threat, followed by improper food storage.
As a nation, we are pretty well removed now from the actual production of food. We're far better at eating it than really knowing what we should do to make it safe.
Here's what the FDA requires to make food safe. Hot water of at least 110 degrees at every sink in a restaurant. We went undercover and took the temperature at about 50 local restaurants to see if they're complying with the law. 21 of those had problems. At Red Hot and Blue Express in Arlington, the water was 90 degrees in the men's room and just 88 degrees in the ladies' room. The manager later told us he would fix the sinks as soon as his busy season ends. This man hopes so because he once had food poisoning.
I was okay, but I learned one thing: wash your damn hands.
Our next problem spot was the Dancing Crab in D.C. There was hot water in the men's room, but the ladies' room stayed cold for months. We tested twice and got readings of 70 and 74 degrees. We brought the problem to the manager's attention, and it was fixed the next day.
This first I heard of it. I'll call the plumber right now. If it's not working, I'll call the plumber. I didn't know anything about it.
That's the kind of priority hot water should be. Remember, 110 degrees is the minimum. Just in case you're still not convinced, we're going to do a little experiment. I'm going to cover my hands with an E. coli bacteria solution. Now I'm going to wash them in cold water alone. Next, I'll touch this plate and we'll see how much bacteria I transfer to it. Next, we repeat the entire process. E. coli solution, cold water with soap this time, and now I'll touch the plate. And finally, the same sequence a third time, but using plenty of good hot water and nice sudsy soap. Okay, we'll check back in a little bit for the results. Meanwhile, it's time to visit Legal Seafoods at Tyson's Galleria. The water here hovered around 75 degrees both times we tested. Part of the problem is that Legal uses these automatic faucets. Hot and cold water come out already mixed, and there are no government guidelines for that. Plus, the faucets don't stay on long enough to warm up much. So we approached the manager.
Is that anything that you've ever known about? No. Has the health department ever raised the red flag?
No.
Well, 124.
The people at Legal Seafoods immediately got to work adjusting the temperature on their faucets. It's a tricky balancing act for restaurants because if they turn the water too hot, a customer could get scalded and sue.
It's too hot.
We checked the temperature in Legal's special employee bathroom, and it was more than adequate, 143 degrees.
You need hot water for food preparation and washing hands.
The Prince George's County Health Department closed Hunan Restaurant twice in 2 weeks for having no hot water and for other problems. We went there the week the restaurant reopened, and the women's bathroom still had no hot water. It was just 80 degrees. At Full Key Chinese Restaurant in Wheaton, the men's room tap tested at 85 degrees. The women's was 84. It's about hot water and hand washing. And this restaurant, the water is not hot enough.
The manager not here is the manager and all the vegetable.
We had trouble explaining ourselves because of the language barrier, and health inspectors say they face the same problem at some Asian restaurants.
I mean, I would be bothered if the meat wasn't stored at safe temperatures, but people washing their hands, I don't think that's a big deal.
Not a big deal? Really? Time for the results of our little hand-washing experiment. After washing my hands with nothing but cold water, they were still covered with E. coli bacteria. Look how much I transferred to the slide when I touched it. Washing with cold water and soap was better. But every one of these dots still represents E. coli from my hands. Remember, I washed with hot water and soap last, and what a difference. Not one E. coli cell grew on the slide. Our test was not totally scientific, but hot water does help. Now, back to our restaurant rounds.
Has the health department told you that your water is too cold?
I know. It's, my store is hot water. We use hot water.
Not when we tested.
At the subway on Georgia Avenue at Piney Branch Road, we tested the water 3 times. It ranged from 76 degrees to 100. Watch what happened when we asked the manager if we could test his sinks one last time together.
Oh, look at that toilet. Jeez. Oh, God. It's overflowing. Excuse me, I've got to back out of here. I can't help myself.
As the manager frantically worked with a plunger, brown toilet water flooded the floor. The DC Health Department considers sewer backups like this an imminent danger and grounds for automatic closure.
I don't want to walk in this one.
Okay,
I mean, that's raw
we're going to
stuff that's coming out of there.
We moved on to the critical kitchen sink. And guess what? The water was not hot enough, just 102. Again, grounds for closure. And then we found another violation. No soap.
That's the sink you use before you fix food, and there's no soap there?
We have a soap, but we change over there.
But right now, this is out of soap. I mean, and you're open for business.
DC Health Department records show this subway has been disciplined repeatedly for the same hand-washing flaws we found.
Does that bother you?
Yeah, I won't eat there again. Let's put it that way.
Choose carefully, because remember, when you eat out, your health is in someone else's hands.